So we are going to start our plug talk in the platform of Made in Africa, and I would like to welcome everybody, and particularly our speaker today, our great speaker and our audience, to address this very important topics, which is food security. As you know, Made in Africa is a platform dedicated to address the major African challenges and to discuss those challenges with entrepreneurs, experts, civil society, institutions, the people who are really involved in the heart of those transitions, and to open debate. So today we have the great opportunity to have a debate about food security, a major issue for Africa. As we know, to respond to this food security objective, the agriculture sector, as well industrial or rural, has to define new model of cooperations by further mobilizing the development actor to collectively place ethics and common goods in the heart of agricultural policies, which means that creating food security program is deploying all the environmental ambition in favor of almost zero or even regenerative footprint on our natural resources. And food security is definitely also addressing many social issues such as public health, malnutrition, education, employment, work regulations, preserving know-how inclusive of women. Well, it is a global topic, and to address that, we are very, very glad to welcome four great speakers with great expertise and very combined vision. Those speaker is Mrs. Beatrice Gakuba, and she's Executive Director of AWAN Africa, African Women Agro Business Network, and she's based in Kenya. Thank you, Beatrice. It's great to have you in board with us today. We have also Mr. Akinle Phillips. He is a co-founder and Chief Risk Officer of Pharmacrody based in Nigeria. Thank you, Akinle. Also, we have Mr. Olamide Opemipo, and you are country manager and head of operations at GR Farmer LLC, and also based in Nigeria. And our last speaker will be Mr. Desmond Kone, who is CEO of Complete Farmer in Ghana. So to start with, I would like to share with you a kind of, I don't think there is a one definition of food security, and we are going to address that, but a definition which is coming from the World Food Summit in 1996. And they express that food security is achieved when all people at all time have economic, social, and physical access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their nutritional needs and food preferences to enable them to lead active and healthy lives. What an objective. I would like to give the floor to our speaker to hear more from you on your vision of what is food security from your perspective, what is the challenges of food security, and eventually how did you see that the COVID pandemic have impact on the food security? So please, can you start by introduce yourself, introduce your company, and present from your perspective all the food security environment. And I will start with Beatrice Gakuba. So please, Beatrice, we give you the floor for hearing more from you, from what does AWAN Africa is doing, specifically in food security, and again, to have the opportunity to get inspired by your expertise. Thank you, Beatrice, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jan, for convening this, and Made in Africa for convening this. I also want to say that I'm also a member of advisory board of Made in Africa, which, we've been working together on this, and I'm glad that they have put up this this event, which is at the core of what is happening now on the continent, that represent many challenges, and in business, as we say, challenges, we turn them into opportunities. So we also thank you for the definition of food security that you just shared with us. But before I continue, I would like you to allow me to also quote what Mr. Adesina, who is the current African Development Bank chairman and president, who is also an engineer, an agriculture engineer. He just said, I quote, The future of food in the world will depend on what Africa does with agriculture. Therefore, we must change our view on agriculture. Agriculture is not a development activity or a social sector. Agriculture is a business. We must not use agriculture to manage poverty. We must use agriculture to create wealth. And I end the quote. So he also added, agribusiness is a must. By 2030, the size of the food and agribusiness in Africa will reach $1 trillion. So if you are thinking on how to make money, that is the sector to be in. And I'm glad that all the panelists today are already in the business in agriculture. We are, the four of us, I think people have decided to make agriculture a business. So this is in the space where we are, that the space where ecosystem, each ecosystem where we're working on. I had the chance to get in touch of what the three other panelists are doing. I think there's a lot of complementarity here. But yes, Mr. Yan, the food security is a serious business for us on the continent, and now so after the COVID. Now with that, I will just give a brief description of what One Africa is, but I know my team, I think one of my program officer is on the, is listening in. So on the chat, they will be giving you the link of what One Africa is, a description of One Africa. I will link to the main activities we are doing, so I will not take time on this presentation. Just in a nutshell, as I said, One Africa, it's Africa Women in Agribusinesses. We have decided to make agriculture a business. We all know, and the statistics are there, that 80% of the food we produce in Africa is produced by women, whether as producer or farm laborers, yeah? Not paid laborers. Well, I will not come to that as subject for another thing. So it is very important for us. We decided intentionally to focus on women in agribusiness because you cannot grow the economy of the continent. You cannot without growing agriculture. And as I speak, if we cannot empower women economically with the tools that are necessary to make it a successful business, we will not grow our continent. So on our network, we have 2,000 registered former businesses. And this has come to the fact that in many years, I am a food security expert and nutritionist, and I worked for UNICEF, IFAD, 25 to 30 years of international organization. We decide that if we don't empower the women, it will not work. So we intentionally decide that. So these women, 10 years ago, everyone was saying, where are the women? Everyone is informal. African women, we are working, we want to finance and help them, but we know who they are. But we are there. They are there. They are registered business. And I think my brothers here will talk about it later, who they work with. If they disseminate the information, then now they are women. So those 2,700 women, we have small, medium, and large, from $5,000 turnover to more than $1 million. In each value chain, they are there. And we also have cooperatives and associations that work with us directly, who also have 700,000 to 1 million small-scale farmers working with us. We are present in 43 countries, and we are across the continent. And we, in terms of continental impact, we work with, and we are aligned to Malabo Declaration, and globally, we are aligned to SDG, of course, 8, 5, 3, 2, and 1. And we, as we said, we are creating wealth in agriculture. And I'll just briefly talk about our pillar. In fact, we have 4 pillars: financial inclusion, where we provide financial literacy, and then now the new challenge, digital payment, because of COVID. And I think my brothers here, they will talk about it. Financial literacy, we all know, even men, leave alone the women, but I speak women because that's where intentionally we are. Financial literacy, even those who are in medium enterprises, who are running medium agribusiness and large agribusiness, some of them don't understand the financial literacy use, right? they don't understand letter of credit, they don't understand contract financing, they don't understand trade finance, etc. So that's where we start 101. How do you even approach the bank? Yeah. Yesterday I was in a meeting with the digital payment, when somebody was saying that all the banks were saying that 70% only 30% of women on the continent are bankable. Now that is not on. So, and this is why we are focusing on this. And of course, we looking so we are focused in linking our members to financial institutions to find them, those they call investors, impact investors, right? Who will be going to a specific of how do you lend women and youth who have no access to collateral, right? So those financial institutions, we're asking them, you want to finance African enterprise, you want to finance agriculture, you have to come up with flexible and affordable finance and tailor-made for those groups. Because it's not because they don't have, because of social and cultural dimensions in the business, access to land, and corrected that they are not successful businesses. So this is something we revisit and we have to rethink and start. And I think those three brothers in the activity have found solution to come to that. But we will, talk with that later. And our pillar number 2 and 3 is market access and trade facilitation. Of course, it comes to the same thing. Yeah. Market access is very interesting because you find a lot of our young people, our people in business, the women, even women and men, they say, oh, we want to export, but they don't even understand how they access the local market. We have big countries with huge population. We have already our markets there. So how do we go back to the fundamentals, right? And train them. So we train them how to trade in access market locally, regionally, and continentally. And the new Africa Free Trade Area Agreement and our common market that was launched this January require for all of us actors in business and agribusinesses to really focus on a lot of preparedness and training in digital marketing and digital trading. I'll come back to that when I talk about, I link the COVID and what has happened to that, but this is a must, digital marketing and digital trading. So that brings me to our pillar number 3, which is trade facilitation. And again, for us is empowering, training, coaching, mentoring, those businesses to prepare them how to trade. Trading has its own rules, right? You have to have certification, you have to comply to the standard. It's very expensive, it's very difficult to access. We are producing material in a simple way, very simplified for women to understand, especially those who are doing cross-border trading. We have women who have they want to make chocolate, but they have to source in East Africa. They have to source cocoa from West Africa. How do they trade? What is the digital payment? The convertibility of the currencies? These are some subjects even men business don't understand. So leave alone women in businesses. But we are just going to numbers because women are multipliers and they're change makers. So we have to start with them. And I can see my colleagues nodding. And this is something very interesting. And this is where now market and access trade is going to be very important. Where they come to, and first of all, it has to be in the food because we have to feed our continent before we start thinking about exporting, right? So pillar number 4 is agri-technology and agri-tech. So we train in different value chain, for each value chain from A to Z, Of course, we have incomplete value chain, and that's what COVID has showed us, and I'll talk about it later. But we take one value chain and we go from production to the end users, right? But we see that we know and have evidence-based information that women are in production, but any other, as you go further, the value chain is all taken over by men, and they get the less money, income from their products. So we are addressing that issue by encouraging them, by training them, by showing them they have to be involved in processing, in packaging, and in trading. And so we we also work with companies and startups. We have many on the continent who are really, tech savvy, who are coming up with our young people are very dynamic. I think Akindele will talk about that, and Desmond, very young with apps in agriculture, and we really have incubation, and they produce good for each value chain, for dairy, for pulses, for crops. So it's the ecosystem is changing, and we have to understand. And I think this is a good event because it is going to reshape and rethink the way international aid is delivered to Africa. There's a lot of knowledge now. There's a lot of skills. There's also homemade technology. So this is in this pillar. We let our young people are very dynamic in that, and of course we also promote this app that are introducing our members to precision agriculture and climate smart agriculture. We also have an e-hub, which is a repository of all those information that our members can access, where they with translations, because we have a facility that speaks French, English, Arabic, and Portuguese, because we're in those 43 members. So when you talk about food security, I'm going to be very fast, Mr. Yan, bear with me. Food security of COVID-19, we actually did an impact study assessment through our members and across our network. And the result was that 90% of our members, this is COVID. We already know, even before COVID, food security was a challenge on our continent. Yeah, because of post-harvest loss in some countries, and some value chains represent 60%. And because of, obviously, of the lack of attention of our governments and our donors, the international donors themselves, not focusing on agriculture. And this has been even challenging with COVID-19, because even the meager resources that we have been allocated to COVID prevention, COVID mask, COVID now, COVID vaccines, right? So obviously when the budget are going to be cut, I don't want to preempt anything, but I don't think that is going to help. So it's sad to note that actually we have gone back to food insecurity, and malnutrition is going to be rampant because of the resources that have been diverted to COVID. We've been locked down for a year now, and our members have lost. 90% of our members across the continent have lost their income, and 84 because of the lockdown, and of course because of the incomplete value chains, because they couldn't have enough process, they could not have processing facility, storage facility, right, and packaging. And this was existing even before. Now it was highlighted by COVID. And 4% also lost their produce because of the disruption in supply chain, whether it's short distance or long distance. And including here the challenge in cross-border trade, yeah, because most of our women really were thriving in cross-border trade. They suffered the most. And when it comes to digitalization, this is a new challenge, a new threat to food security, because during COVID, those who survived had to adapt to selling online and trading online. And only 4% of our network adapted to digital marketing and trading. Were able to do that. So it means the others lost their production. And you can imagine some of our members have 300 small-scale farmer suppliers. Now you can imagine the escalation of the poverty within 1 year. And poverty means no access to food, no access to good food, no access to affordable food, and that translates to come and add to the number of malnutrition, right? Which we are not even seeing, no one addressing it. They are talking about vaccines. Yeah, which is not a bad thing. I'm not against that, but you can vaccinate. If you vaccinate somebody who's hungry, I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm not in that field. But what was interesting is 90% of those who adapted to 4.4%, to adapted to the technology, were under 30. So it's the young people, who adapted, obviously who are running small business and who are undercapitalized, right? And who have no access to markets. So there is a big challenge, and I'm glad these brothers are in that space, that we really have to come up with a way of accelerating and upscaling and introducing digital marketing, because unfortunately, this is the way it's going to be during this COVID era and post-COVID era. So Jan, I'm sorry, but I know I'm Gestan and I have to stop there for the next one. Thank you.
No, don't be sorry. You know, it's such an important remark, and you're sharing very interesting approach, and we all agree on that. And the ecosystem is changing, but I think, and we can see that from your presentation, that the African leadership is in place and ready to take the challenge, whatever the figures or the opportunity. 4% of your market is adapted to digital marketing and trading, and that's such a big figures. I guess Akinle, Phillips, you are sharing those because you are really involved in this market, and so I give you the floor now, Akinle, if you can also present yourself, your great work at Farm Crowdy, and your vision on food security context. Please, your floor is yours. Thank you, Akinle.
Thank you so much, Jan, and a fantastic presentation, Beatrice. You've touched on a lot of things. I would say Farm Crowdy, we find ourselves in the fourth pillar of the number of pillars you have within your organization, and I look forward to at some point in time collaborating with you, with your presence in 43 countries within the continent. I'm sure there's a lot of ways we can work with you and bring on technology. So I'm Akindele Phillips. I'm a co-founder of Farm Crowdy, and I'm also the chief risk officer at Farm Crowdy. And Farm Crowdy is essentially, it's a global ag tech agricultural technology company that works with a lot of stakeholders along the food value chain. And our focus is to help them increase their capacity, production, and also help them increase their profitability using technology. So the bedrock of whatever we do has to be technology driven. And we've been doing this for over 5 years. There's a lot of data as to how much we've impacted in terms of increasing production, increasing the wealth of everyone that has one or two reasons as a stakeholder to engage us and work with us in solving the problems they have along the food value chain. So we operate, we've operated both in the upstream and also the downstream along the food value chain. And so we have a lot of experience using technology to make life better for the food value chain participants. And the genesis of this is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 2, which is zero hunger. So Farm Crowdy is founded on the need to address that global issue, which is obviously linked to food security. And the way we've tackled this is to ask ourselves, how do we tackle it? And we've maintained that approach. One is to say, can we increase the capacity? Can we increase the production of food? Obviously, firstly in Nigeria, and later on within the continent, and obviously globally at some point in time. So we started with, look, can we increase capacity? And like you rightly said, Beatrice, there's one thing to help these upstream farmers increase their production. There's another bit to ensure there's access to market, which Jan also yielded to a little bit, access to market, and that solves the post-harvest losses, which Beatrice had mentioned is about 60% in certain African countries. Nigeria is about 30 to 50%, depending on what kind of produce we're talking about. Obviously, for the fresh fruits, it's worse because these activities, core production activities, happen in remote parts of the country with limited access to the cities where these products can easily be sold and where the farmers can get better returns for what they produce, which is basically access to superior markets. So we've been doing this and solving these issues over the years using different means, but obviously using technology. So that's, I don't want to take too much of your time. At some point in time in this conversation, I will shed more light on how we've been able to address these food security issues. Like I said, food security, the way we are tackling it is increase production, and also two, increase access to markets such that you are reducing post-harvest losses. And I believe, I mean, as an organization for us, focusing on this has helped us to solve in a little bit, because I mean, Nigeria has over 200 million individuals in terms of population. So, so we need many more farm products to be able to solve this. But the good thing is with the use of technology, you can work with as many stakeholders as possible. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Akinle, and thank you for raising these two key pillars, which is assisting productions and productivity capacity, but also to respond to local market, and access to this market is definitely in the heart of food security development. Let's discuss now with Mr. Olamide Opemipo. Can you please, Mr. Opemipo, introduce what does GR Farms is doing in Nigeria and over, and please share your vision on food security challenges today. The floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Yan. I'm Olamide Opemipo of GR Farms, and I happen to be the manager in livestock feed and production that I'm both in Zambia and in Nigeria. Actually, GR Farms, we are multifaceted in agriculture, basically, and we are trying to look at the agribusiness aspect of it, trying to link up farmers with market, and then trying to incorporate agro-processing into our system. Basically, over the years, insecurity has been a very big issue, and that's one of the things why GR Farms came into existence. And presently, we have the GR Coffee, we have GR Gari, and we have GR Feed, animal feed. We have a concept of feeding our food, basically. That, you know, we talk about plants most often, we really many times forget about animals. So we are looking at how we can incorporate the two, feeding the animals to cover for animal protein, and then still not limiting on the plant protein also. So that's more like what GR Farms is coming over to do. And then in all of our activities at GR Farms, we anchor this on three services. That's food processing, agro consultancy, and agro commodity trading. GR Farms is in 4 countries presently. In Nigeria, we are in Rwanda, we are in Netherlands, and we're also in Zambia. Presently, we hope to expand more. And our cardinal goals, we have 5 basic things we are trying to solve. Number 1, we want to ensure food security in Africa and beyond. And then number 2, we want to end hunger in Africa. We also want to create decent jobs for youth and women. Just like Mrs. Beatrice Gakuba has said, the women have been we call them like abandoned soldiers. So we want to create decent jobs in our agriculture for the women, and we also want to add value to agro-commodity in Africa. Also, we want to raise the next generation of agrarian leaders in Africa. Basically, we have been doing 1 or 2 things, and our own definition of insecurity, we tried as much as possible to simplify it, and we just say it has to do with accessibility and affordability of food. That's how much we simplified it. The food has to be accessible and it has to be affordable. If it's available and we don't have the purchasing power, then we are still insecure in terms of food. And so GR Farms is coming up with a lot of other strategies. Presently, our coffee arm employs about 4,000 farmers in Rwanda, where we do planting, we harvest, we roast, and we package coffee for many countries. For exporting, we do commodity trading in Netherlands. And in Zambia, we're doing feed, livestock feed, and same also in Nigeria, where we also have our GR Gari. And some of the challenges we have with insecurity, some of the challenges we have presently is that is leading toward this issue. We have aging farmers. Most of these farmers are running out of age, and so their performance is dropping over the years. We have insecurity, of course. Mrs. Beatrice Gakumba mentioned that infrastructure linking these people together then inflation of prices affecting even our own country here in Nigeria, then storage facilities, then market access, post-harvest loss, just as Mrs. Beatrice mentioned, and many others. So in our own way, in trying to tackle the aspect of aging farmers, JR Farms came up with a concept, and we call it the Green Agro Business Fund, the Green Agro Business Fund. We try to identify young farmers who are doing well. We look at their prospects, we look at how well they can do and how big they can go, and how we can come together to solve this problem of food insecurity. And so far, so good. We've given out to the tune of about $21,000 to farmers. That's youth, young farmers. And so the Green Agro Business Fund, we are trying to try as much as possible to solve the problem of aging farmers and bringing in young blood into the system. And just like we know, the old farmers, let's call them the old farmers, the use of technology is very limited. So bringing in the youth will help to spur technology innovation, which can actually be a form of solving food insecurity, use of technology, innovation and solutions, enabling environment, and putting all this together. We know we can actually have a degree of solution from our own part, while combining with a lot of with the concept from Mrs. Beatrice, and also with farm crowding. We've heard a lot about farm credit, and we know that you guys are doing a very good job. Thank you very much. So also, I would like to talk on the impact of COVID-19 on us. It really affected us a little. Basically, we had some few challenges, as much as we have a lot of price. A revenue dropped in terms of coffee production. Our revenues really dropped in terms of coffee production, and then but we had increase in revenue with dairy production. So there is a degree of balance. But the challenge we have with this, with the whole process is we learned a lesson. We learned lessons as the COVID-19 really changed the way we operate, the way we think, and it shows us how fragile our business is. COVID-19 really opened us to that part, and we learned a lot of lessons. We learned diversification, we learned investment in team and development, we learned adaptation. Of course, we learned adaptation, and we learned partnership for productivity. So in the whole process, in the whole of this, we have learned a lot. But the COVID-19 impact in the fact that we shut down a lot of offices, we shut down some stores, but even this period, we are trying bit by bit to ensure that everything is back to normal. And with that, it has helped us to evolve. It has helped us to understand the different aspect of the business that we have so much forgotten in time past. And now is the time we are trying to incorporate this into the system. So as it stands, we are doing our own part, and we hope from discussions like this, we'll keep improving by partnering with necessary bodies. We have partnership with FAO, we have partnership with ILO, the African Union, and many others like that. And we are gradually working towards it. And with collective effort of different partners like Awan, and then Farm Crowdy, and the likes, and people like you, we would definitely have a concrete and sustainable solution to all these challenges. I'd like to stop here so that we can have time for others to continue. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Lamid. Very, very clear presentation of your area, and we can see how challenging is it, because you have so much responsibility to address, going from assisting farmer to create global cooperations to tackle the issue. We'll go back on the question later to discuss a little bit how you are assisting those new entrepreneurs, I will say in agro, to really have development business. But before, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Desmond Kone, who is with us, and to present Complete Farmer based in Ghana, Desmond, and perhaps to give also your your vision from your perspective on food security challenges today, and how do you act inside this environment. So I give you the floor, Desmond. The floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jan. My name is Desmond. I'm Desmond Connie from Ghana, the CEO and founder of Complete Farmer. Basically, Complete Farmer it's a digital platform that enables end-to-end value chain transactions in agriculture. Um, Basically, what we believe would ensure food security is to make sure that anyone who eats food is able to participate in the food value chain as well. So we built the Complete Farmer platform to enable or strictly for four stakeholders. These stakeholders being food buyers, food commodity buyers across the globe. They are able to build their supply chains on our platform from getting produce from the farm to their warehouses. And then we also have the grower. The grower is basically farmers on the ground who we guide to produce food to basically meet the demands of industries. And the way we do this is by using a lot of technologies to enable these farmers farm effectively. So what we've done is collected data on production of about 8 different crop varieties in Ghana, where we know how to basically grow this food. You can think of them as recipes, or we call them protocols. So these production protocols given to any farmer will be able to grow food to meet export market requirements as well. And we have the landowners. So one of the ways we've expanded our operations is through the landowners. So this is more like an Airbnb for farmland model, where we get the land to basically be able to build more farms and scale farms for industry usages. And then we have our Digi Farmers. Digi Farmers is anyone at all who wants to get into agriculture to be able to finance agricultural operations and own a part of the value chain. Now, the way the platform works, we have a lot of partnerships with different supply chain partners, from logistics to certification to quality control. All this happens on the platform through partnerships as well. Now, our vision is to create more of an ecosystem where people are working together to ensure that food is produced rightly and it's consumed rightly as well. And these stakeholders are meant. And the beauty of having a platform is we get to set the rules of engagement or the approaching the food value chain in a particular manner to enable efficiency. So that's what we do at Complete Farmer. You can check out completefarmer.com to learn more about what we do. In terms of food security, I think for us, it's really simple. If everyone who consumes food grows food, basically we wouldn't have the problem of food security. Now, how do we create a world where everyone has the opportunity to also grow food as well? And those are the kind of interesting models that we like to explore at Complete Farmer. We also have a philosophy. How do you build an African farm to operate as effective as a factory? You know, and these are some of the questions that keeps us awake at Complete Farmer in trying to find different models for approaching the agriculture value chain in Africa to take advantage of the potential of agriculture in Africa. So my team is made up of a team of engineers, business professionals, farmers, and agronomists. And basically, these are the problems that we are solving with our platform as well. In terms of COVID, what we realized was the COVID disrupted food chains, but it also created a lot of demand. And that's an indication of food insecurity. When you have industries really chasing for certain food commodities, you realize that there's shortage on the market. And I think that also creates an opportunity for people to basically engage in agriculture now, because we live in a world where the populations are increasing and resources are dwindling. So how do we balance this? How do we create a world where with minimal resources, you can feed more people. And I think that's basically the insight we got from COVID on the platform. A commodity like soybeans went from $350 per metric ton to about $630 per metric ton in just a year. And for many of us who do not buy soybeans, we may not think the problem of food insecurity exists currently because we are still able to afford our meals, our 3 square meals a day. But the cost of food is going up. And once the cost of food keeps going up, it's the people at the bottom of the pyramid that suffers the most. And that's where we should start looking at food insecurity from, because when it happens, the rich can always afford food, no matter the price point of this food, but it's the poor that basically suffers. So I think the true measure for people to understand what contributes or if food insecurity actually is happening currently is to look really at the bottom of the pyramid. Are people able to afford nutritional meals? Are people able to get the 3 square balanced diets that they need for their daily lives? So that's what Complete Farmer does, and I hope to continue this discussion with my colleagues as well.
Excellent, thank you, Desmond. Yes, very clear also presentation, and it's very interesting because all of you raise one point. It is engaging agriculture is an opportunity today. It's not only a need for social development, economic, but you all explain it is definitely a growing businesses, and an opportunity for youth, an opportunity for entrepreneur, and it's a reality for Africa that today you have solutions and you have resources inside the continent. And what is great is all of you is really engaged in making those resources, making those expertise available and shared for everyone. Beatrice, you really put in face the fact that it is a business, and it's really impressive what you say. If 80% of the food production is done by women today in the African continent, and you're working with around 2,000 registered, and you say business that you are assisting. So the role of women is really a driving force in this economy, is a driving force in this market. How today with Awan Africa, you are really consolidating this opportunity by mobilizing more women, mobilizing even youth to get involved in agriculture and to feel confident that they can have their own business, they can produce micro farm. You say it goes from $5,000 to $1 million. So the environment is so huge. And I guess to reach $1 million business, you need to grow slowly. But how today are you going to increase this mobilization of women, increase this mobilization of youth to bring to really say to them, agriculture development is an economic environment where you need to be even more active. I'm very interested, and we are all very interested to know a bit more about that. If you can explain a little bit about increasing this opportunity around women and youth.
Thank you very much, Jan, again, and thank you very much. I can delay this month, and Olamide, I'm very happy, and I think just to start answering this your question, Jan, I think their presentation shows that this is what we are doing, and I'm very happy to see that we have a lot of young people and who are also getting into the development of agriculture sector through different value chains of service providing, and they know and acknowledge, and I think this is one of the takeaway I get, and that's why I'm smiling, because I know this is we are in the right place, because all of them, they are working in different value chains in terms of providing solutions, but they are focusing on women and youth. And so for me, I think it comes as trying for all of us, one, to to do what is the right thing. I think no economist will say you grow the continent by forgetting 50% of the population. That's not possible. And then when you talk about job creation, then this is again another statistic: 60% of our youth are under 80, under 35. So where are the jobs in the agriculture sector? And as I quoted Dr. Adesina saying, is that if you're looking for an opportunity or a job, you have to go into food business, because it's a $1 trillion business estimates, on the continent. We don't want the women to be left behind. I think one of the biggest violence against women is economic violence, because when you're empowered, where you're economically empowered, then you empower the family, then you can take your kids to school. It's not that they don't know what is good for them, it's that they cannot access the resources by systemic discriminations that have gone through centuries, by the society, by our government, by the donors, thinking that women can only do small things. But I know the three brothers there, my three young brothers there, they will tell you that the most dynamic members of their companies are women and young girls. And now, what do we do at One Africa? Actually, we have what we call One Under 35, and I'm sure that soon we'll be contacting Olamide, Desmond, and Akindele to be able to merge our, to work on this youth part of developing them. Because if we do not create jobs within the agriculture sector for our youth, there are no more jobs. You have enough lawyers, we have a lot of economists, we have engineers, but we don't have people making a business along the value chain. That's where the opportunities are. And I think this is where the three companies are showing us what they can do, and they're catching up. Those are the generation who grew up without a fixed telephone. They're using mobile phone. They are savvy, they are tech savvy, they know how to do that. Even though we have high cost of connectivities in our countries, they're still doing it, So focusing on women is a choice. It's a must if you want to develop African economy. And I really wish this is a call also for the donors to start saying, we don't want to be just one chapter in a project financed by European Union, by USAID, by all the international, bilateral or international organizations, saying, also, we should not forget to mainstream chapter women. No, women are part of this business. If women are not part of that, it will not happen. So I think this is something that is very important. And of course, because of the lack of literacy, even this, a lot of our women will have loved to even join this conversation. But guess what? They can't, because some of them can't speak English, although they have the business. And some of them, because agricultural activities take place, most of the activities in the rural area. And we all know I'm leaving to my young brothers there to talk about the connectivity is one of the challenges. They will all love to be in this meeting. But the challenge is that the connectivity, the accessibility, and the affordability in many things, and everything we look at, it actually comes the key thing towards is accessibility and affordability. Where it is available, it's expensive. Some of them, to have a bundle for 1 hour is $4. And that money after COVID and during COVID is a problem. So for us to be able to mobilize the networks, it requires for us to travel, to go and find them where they are. And this is something that we can do and we have to do. Because in Africa, actually, we travel from one country to another. We don't have restrictions from one another. You just have to have a negative test. But the problem is also in the test of this, when you're a service provider like all of us, most of the resources come from the donor countries. And the donor countries also have their own challenges. They have to face the problems or domestic problems regarding the health, the system, the vaccines. There is a different model. But of course, that model, we cannot apply it now without adding in parallel food security to it. So COVID has changed, disrupted even the way we think. We are ground zero, So we have place for innovation, but how do upscale those innovation in food security? How those innovation reach women? For youth, it's easy, but for women who are already in the business, who are also at the center of all these discussions we are having, who are financially literate, who are digitally literate, how do we supply this knowledge? How do we scale up this knowledge to them? And that's the challenge. And these Zoom's meeting have created another digital gap to women, you know, a lot of them. And those, you know, even those who can speak English, yeah, you know, the connectivity is high, it's a rural area, they have been hit hard. So how do we deliver our services? So we need to go back to physical training, to physical see them and deploy, because it will be easier for us to do that than to ask our governments and telecom operators to reduce and revise their costs. That's a business. But again, I'm sure that all of us put together, we're going to start, you know, lobbying for that issue and pushing for innovation and flexibility in the regulation to let other people who are not the traditional operators. And I think, I mean, well, who do we have? We have what? MTN, Vodafone, Orange, which is French. Mr. Yan, you can tell them that, you know, it's everywhere. It's expensive. They cannot come just to the continent, and, you know, they have to do something about it. And mostly because women, actually, if we had to look at the revenue streams of those telephone companies, right? They will see, if they are honest with us, that they make more money on women subscribers than men. Because when we communicate to one another, we say, hello, how are you? How are the children? How is your crop? They say, so that's like another 3 minutes. 3 minutes before we go into, hey, I need 3 tons of avocado. Can you send for me? Before we do that, we start asking, how is the children, the husband, or the family? So we speak 3 to 5 minutes more than men. So they should be also responsible for at least, you know, social responsibility. Try and say, either we can do something for those 5 minutes, maybe 1 cent or 10 cents goes to developing, you know, to developing the digital space for them. Those are debates that we have to, you know, a platform like this and events like this have to address. You know, the digital has grown so big. They will talk about it. I think Phillips and Desmond and they will talk about it. The connectivity. You know, I'm sure our at least 500 of members will have want to be in this conversation, but they can't because of that. So the challenges is an opportunity, but that's a structure challenge. And we need to lobby our governments and the telephone operators to review that, because otherwise it is a discrimination. And then you add that on the lockdown of COVID and this vaccination story that, you know, we're not even accessing that. So it is a very complex situation we're in, but you know, Africans were very resilient, and I'm sure we'll come up with something. But it is, you know, COVID has really made us difficult. I'm saying the digital divide is more dangerous than you know, it's adding to many things. Yeah. So because if we're going to adapt to digital marketing, how do you do that? You know, if your bundles, of course, you $4 to have a bundle, your bundles in your country, you know, how far can you go? So those are the issues. I think maybe it's another topic for another event, but this is really one of the biggest challenges that we are facing in terms of market access and trading, and also accessing our member. Like we had the other day, a Zoom meeting with our members in Central Africa, which is Gabon, DRC, Cameroon, Chad, Burundi, and Rwanda. And we didn't have more than 20. And all of them were writing WhatsApp to say, can we call on WhatsApp? Because you know, the bundles just on Zoom is not possible. And some of them had somebody to translate. But those are market women. You know, we all know how much money those market women can move in a day. Yeah? And they take their money and go deposit in the bank, and they're on the phone all the time, making so much money for those telephone operating companies. Yeah. So they also have to revisit that, because women, we contribute a lot, but it's not highlighted, it's not said. And what we want is to to ask that the banks, start already coming into some sort of no women in business. None of our members want free money. They are already in business. They just want flexible and affordable loans, and the training on digital payment, because that's the new thing now. Things are happening and people are not prepared for that. Yeah. So we're going back to the gains we had 10, 15 years ago, when women were this and that, and COVID had come to disrupt that. And for the first time, COVID, that didn't come from Africa either. So we're here, I don't know. But what I'm trying to say is the consequences are becoming heavier and heavier of COVID, and the impacts on how we deliver our services, because of the nature of the setting of our rural areas versus the urban areas. Thank you. I think I'll add there.
Thank you very much, Beatrice. This is really right, all you say. It shows the resilience that the African continent have demonstrated during the crisis, but it also shows the lack of access to technology. You're totally right, and perhaps some of you, Desmond, Akinle, Olami, do you want to react on what just Beatrice said before moving to something in other topics? Yes, Akinle.
Thank you so much. I totally agree with Beatrice. Women form a huge, significant portion of those stakeholders along the food value chain, right? And I mean, for instance, there was a time for a particular crop when we were so much involved with the upstream, cassava to be specific, a whole community, it was the women, and they did a fantastic job cultivating cassava in that community. And just to touch on a few ways we had worked to be able to onboard or get these women actively involved and ease the way they carry out their activities, to establish what we call technical field specialists who reside and operate closest to this farmland. So they represent the women. They obviously are more tech savvy. So they have the apps, they have the gadgets to be able to get modern farming techniques and be able to deploy this information to the women and help increase their yield. So it's like ambassadors of FarmCrowdy, living closest to the community of the women. So they close the gap between access to data, ability to be tech savvy, having the necessary gadgets that will help them to be able to get information or access inputs that help them grow their production. So we've adopted that. We have things we call aggregation centers across the nation, where we have representative ambassadors who are able to help close this gap and work with the farmers, the female farmers in particular also, and guide them such that through that method, their yield increases and obviously profitability increases. And they play a dual part. They also help, by the time the commodities are ready, to help them get access to superior markets, reducing post-harvest losses, and also getting more returns for the produce they've cultivated. So, I mean, I see a lot of good ways we can work with Mrs. Beatrice subsequent to this, but yes, women are very, very important in solving the food security issues globally.
Thank you, Akinle. Yes, we all agree on that. It's not only by inclusion, it's really because women are the opportunity to grow this market. But digital risk means it's still a challenge. Connectivity is a challenge, access to technology. Desmond, I would like to see you, because Complete Farmer raise mobile applications facilitating to create bridges between diaspora and agricultural development project. Can you explain it? So you're really centered into using digital to facilitate a dialogue or a development program, finance, I guess. How does that work and how does that impact? And are you facing this? You think your model could be even more impactful if those digital development can increase? Can you share with us a bit about your application?
Thank you very much, Jan. Yeah, I think one of the things that I keep telling my fellow colleagues trying to solve this problem is for most African tech businesses in agriculture, you are basically a social business. You really need to build infrastructure first. I think one of the when we started Complete Farmer, most of the farms, we couldn't get connectivity on those farms. We had to build our own wireless area networks on these farms as well. So a lot of investments we've built has gone into infrastructure. Currently, all the farms on our platform have a sensor pack that collects data automatically from the farms. And this is basically used to drive insights and help farmers to be able to cultivate the right way. We've invested a lot into satellite technologies. Buyers on our platform are able to see what's going on the farm. Farmers are able to use this satellite farm management system to manage bigger farms, and we are able to get them agronomic support. So I could just share a link of a farm to an agronomist anywhere in the world, and that farmer is able to get support on how to go about the cultivation or solve certain problems. So all the technologies that are needed for digital farming in a sense are available. We also put a lot of the data that we collect on the blockchain because buyers that we deal with on the platform want traceability. They want to know what pesticides we are using, what's the dosage of the mixtures of this pesticide. All this data is available on the blockchain for most of these buyers on our platform. So basically, what we've done is to invest in a lot of the various technologies that will enable a smooth or a completely digital experience of the agricultural value chain. Now, the reason why we had to do that was because the physical value chain, if you want to play in it, has a lot of nuances, a lot of middlemen interruptions and stuff. So we thought to make it easy for ourselves, we really needed to invest in these things, in digital payment solutions, like Beatrice mentioned. It's one of the key things that we've been able to achieve, making sure that farmers on our platform are able to access or be paid directly by global buyers. If a Nestle or a Kellogg's wants to pay a farmer in Africa, how do they go about doing that? So these are the technologies that we've had to really, really invest in to enable that we are able to carry out farming at scale. And also even on the farm level itself, we've been able to farm like 1,000 acres of farms. Our smallest catchment area on the platform is about 500 acres. And this is not a small farm. And on these farms, we don't use hoes and cutlasses. We are using drones for spraying and surveys on the farm. We are using tractors for most of the things. And that is where agriculture needs to get to. I think these technologies enable us to really move away from the smallholder narrative. If farmers are given the technologies that we are currently building, it basically helps us to move away and start thinking more of farming as a business. Because right now we have people who are graduating universities who don't want to go into farming because they have soft palms and they don't want to injure themselves with hoes as well. So how do we rebrand agriculture in such a way that our youth want to get into agriculture? And it's based on applying these technologies to making the value chain more efficient. No one would want to jump into a pool of crocodiles, I tell people as well. So really, I think there's a lot of opportunities when it comes to the technologies, but the challenge has been the investment required. Most of the technologies in agriculture are very expensive, unlike what I'll say other fintech solutions where everything can be built with a laptop. Most of the technologies that you need in agriculture, GIS, these are expensive technologies that needs to be acquired. But many times agriculture or agri-tech companies do not get the necessary funding to basically build this infrastructure. Now, if you compare that to other fintechs across Africa who have built payment solution, the payment solution that they built is being leveraged on by other parties in the ecosystem to build new businesses. If we are also able to invest in agricultural technologies likewise, other people will then be able to build businesses on top of that infrastructure. So I think that the key challenge is how do we really build that key infrastructure to close the gap and create a platform where other people then find it easy to have access to these technologies and be able to operate farms more effectively and secure markets as well. But the technologies are available, but they are very expensive for farmers now.
Totally right, Desmond. It's very interesting, and it's interesting because our next plug talk about agriculture will talk about that, how we can mutualize resources to get access to technology. Mutualization is really certainly a key point today. Individual access is really difficult. It's perhaps not the challenge of tomorrow, but mutualization of access to resources. So yes, digital technology, it's key. It's part of the development of agro ecology and agro business. I would like to address another point, perhaps starting with you, Mr. Olamide, and Akinle, you can respond also to that, which is one of the challenge. It's to guarantee a good productivity for the farmers, whoever is their environment, and access to the market. And then when they have access to the market, then can sell. It could be local market for certain producer, it could be a national, continental, or international market. And that's the vision to grow to the international market, not only to feed your village, but to feed internationally because you are very competitive. And I want to go on this competitiveness, which is going to go through creating growth, creating businesses which help to create more resources for investment and to assist the capacity that your product on the market present a competitiveness price. It is really important. It is important in Europe for many farmers who have subvention and are supported so that their product can reach the market with a competitive price. Can you perhaps explain a little bit, let's start with you, Olamide, how you help those farmers in their model of growth and business to be sure they can invest, to be sure they can get access to technology, but in the other hand, to be sure that their cost price reach the market at the end. That's for you, Olamide.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Yan. And Mrs. Beatrice, you've really covered a lot, and we look to have a very good partnership with you. I can tell you that we have more females working with us at JR Farms than males, and their productivity and dynamic nature has been awesome. So going to your question, Mr. Yan, you know, just like Desmond has said, the technology, but the cost is always on one side. But to answer your question, basically, I'd like to talk to you about a project. I tried to brief it while I was giving the introduction that JR Farms is going into. And, you know, we looked at the situation on ground. We saw that using this technology, we would have less to worry about if we have young men doing this. So we strategized and then trying to encourage young men coming into agriculture. Just like Desmond said, he said there are so many graduates now who do not want to go into agriculture. It's because they are not seeing prospect, they are not seeing future. So we try to encourage them. We try to come up with concepts that can motivate them to come into the system to help solve this issue of food insecurity. So we came up with two concepts, the Green Hangout and then the Green Agro Business Fund. And the Green Agribusiness Fund is designed specifically to invest in agribusiness initiatives that we see that they are socially responsible in their business dealings in various parts of Africa. So it could just be anywhere in Africa. And so these businesses are basically for Africans, and the focus is to raise the next generation of agri-entrepreneurs. And these agri-entrepreneurs are the techno-savvy entrepreneurs. So the issue of bringing technology into the system would not be as difficult as it is when dealing with women, as Ms. Beatrice has said. So the whole initiative is to promote agribusiness, focusing priority on aspects of agribusiness such as post-harvest loss. We want to prevent post-harvest loss, climate smart farming, urban farming, seed and soil improvement, precision agriculture, agricultural technology, access to markets, commodity trading, and so on. So in this whole process, we had 5 guiding themes that we tried to use, which has to do more with sustainability. So the agribusiness must be youth-led. We try to put it on youth-led because of the age that is on the side. So with that, we can have them more years in the system, and then they can practice it for a longer time, provided they are supported. So apart from sustainability, we try to target those in the rural area, the rural economy. The initiative is to promote youth and agribusiness initiative that address poverty, labor crisis, rural urban migration, and improved living standard for rural economies across Africa. So we are trying to touch the rural economy with that system also. And then the youth entrepreneurship. The initiative will focus on youth opportunities for entrepreneurship, business ethics, aligning with macroeconomic policies and the likes. And then we have gender balance, which we don't want to sideline the women. So we are trying everything possible to include them into the system. And then technology. The technical part is that aspect of technology. And we are doing everything possible to ensure that the people we are trying to support are people who are techno-savvy. With that, just like Complete Farmer from Desmond. With that, you can easily monitor things. And the way Farm Crowdy operates also is one very fast mode. You know, with one location, you can easily spread across and do a lot of things, even with your app and with your gadget. So we are trying to empower youth who are in that line, who can use technology to solve a degree of this problem. So we are trying to fund them in order to get them into the business. So we came up with some systematic supports. We call it our project support system, which are 5 in each. 5. Number 1, we fund. After funding, we give them financial mentorship for more financing. Now, it's not about starting up the agribusiness. It has a lot to do with sustainability. Food security can only be solved when there is sustainability. We can't have it this year and not have it next year. We can't have it this month and not have it the following month. So it has to be continuous. It has to be sustainable. And for this to happen, there must be sustainability process. And we are using that one to train our beneficiaries in bookkeeping, financial management, business valuation, scaling, and other topical issues in the area of finance, in order to position beneficiaries for more funding from necessary organizations and institutions that can help them. Also, advocacy and exposure. The project is to give thematic exposure to beneficiaries and their businesses through conferences, workshops, and other relevant platforms, just like we have here. I felt I came here to actually speak, but I'm learning more than I'm speaking. I can tell you that. So we are looking at opportunities of incorporating them into systems like this, where they learn. And then we are also looking at capacity building, which will offer capacity building to beneficiaries in order to improve their business and performance and shaping them to innovate while striving to stay relevant in the business. So they must be improved as much as they are staying relevant in this business. And then we are actually, the last one we're trying to do to them is to give them access to market. Like we were developing a concept some time ago, and we discovered most people know about agriculture, but few of them know about agribusiness. They know the production, but they don't know the business attached to it. So, and of course, in Nigeria, we have a lot of animal farmers going through that. After producing, they find it difficult to get to the market. And we look at it, how can we bridge this gap? Let's link these people to the market. So in order not to leave them stranded after having their produce, we do everything possible to teach them the agribusiness aspect, access to market, and the likes. So bringing in technology in the general form is what we are trying to do, trying to use technology to improve the performance. And we know people that are techno-savvy are basically the youth. And these are people that can actually do a lot for us. Mr. Akindele Phillips we know how well you guys are doing. Of course, you are very close to us, and we see a lot of things that are going on. And also, Mr. Desmond Coney, the series of technology you are putting in place are things we want to try and incorporate into the hands of this youth, not to just let them be, but to draw them into agriculture. If we have more hands doing it that are techno-savvy, would have a better way of solving this problem and maintaining the solution. It's not just solving it for once, but maintaining the solution. So we have the age on our side, we have the technology, we have the funding, we have the market. Of course, then we are good to go. So that's more like what our system is going to be operating. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Olamide. Very interesting, very clear. Building such a sustainable process to assist those growth and business opportunity in agro-business is really important. I think at Kinley, the way you approach with Farcrowdy, the market is really similar with your platform, assisting the people from really implementing their project to access to market. Can you share also a little bit to us, how do you guarantee this competitiveness of agro-business locally, but also nationally?
Thank you so much, Jan. And well done with what you're doing, Olamide. I can see a lot of semblance with what we do. So in addressing this issue, I'll share a little bit of how a typical farmer in Nigeria operates. So he operates and harvests his commodity at the point of harvest. And usually they operate in the remote areas in the nation. Some of these areas, there's what they call the weekly market. So when you produce yam, for instance, and the weekly market happens in 2 weeks, so you wait till that 2 weeks before you take your commodity to the market and hopefully get people to buy them off. Otherwise, you take them back home, which means you're beginning to get exposed to post-harvest losses, because some of them are perishable and will be lost. Now, if you eventually get access to your village market, which is just sometimes bi-weekly, right? You have other guys from the cities coming to buy. But guess what? These guys are different layers of intermediary middlemen. So the first person buys off you, sells to the next person, sells to the next person, everybody marking up at those stages. At the end of the day, the farmer that did all the work only got a little, and then the last guy who is now selling to the blue chip companies has made a lot of money. To collapse this is why we will have what we call the farm gate. And it's a tech platform where our ambassadors closest to these farmers can help upload the commodities they have on the platform. And somebody in the city, a processing organization, a blue chip company can say, hey, I want to buy maize and I need them in certain tonnage. Then all the maize in the different areas in Nigeria with the different quantity is available on that platform, and we're able to identify those that meet the quality requirement of the processing organization, aggregate from them. In this case, because we've eliminated the different layers of intermediary middlemen, the farmers are able to get better price for their produce, so they're enjoying competitive prices. We aggregate, deliver to the processing organizations, and the transaction is concluded, right? So that's how we've used technology to ensure that the prices at which the farmers are selling their commodities is very competitive, right? They're beginning to get better returns for their efforts, and that's why we call it access to superior markets. So we've used technology and back to back, and it's the same process for even requests or orders that come outside of the country. We adopt the same process, get the order, identify the communities where this produce is produced, commodities produced in huge quantity, and also meets the specific quality requirements of the processing organizations, aggregate them, pay the farmers immediately, right, at a very competitive price, a price they definitely would not have been able to sell if they had only focused on the local market, which, like I said, is periodic. It's usually not every day, as the case will be. So we use technology a lot, and we've been able to monitor the lifestyle and the level of growth in profitability of the farmers that have actually directly engaged us for the post-harvest activities. And it's usually an average of 60% in terms of lifestyle improvement and profitability of those. Yeah.
Thank you, very clear. Competitiveness of the product to market, and as say Desmond previously, also the traceability And the consumer now have a very important voice in this market. They want to have the product which feed them well, but they need to know from where it's coming from, and they need to understand why they pay this price. And so definitely all of the coherency of this approach is really important. Time is running very fast, so we have to abort our conclusion, and I would like to give the floor one more time to each of you to make a little conclusion and perhaps to open the discussions for our next Plug Talk, or to raise topics which have been not enough developed today or we need to take more time. I would like to finish with you, dear Beatrice, as our special member of Made in Africa Advisory Board, but also as a woman, and because of all the important points you raise around this agro business. So I will finish with you, and I propose to start with Desmond Kone. Please, can you give your conclusion and take the floor before closing this Plug Talk? Thank you very much, Desmond.
Okay, so thank you very much. I think it's been an interesting session to learn about the kind of synergies and what each and everyone here is contributing to the agricultural value chain. I would say the vision of Complete Farmer is to create a world that eats better by working together. And I think the problem of food security can only be solved if we basically come together and combine our efforts. It's good to know that people in different places are all solving the problems in their own way. And many times I get questioned by investors, who are your competitors? I tell them I don't have competitors, I have colleagues. We are all trying to solve the problem as well. So that's very encouraging. I think we really need to take this conversation to the next level. I think most of the challenges that are being faced in agriculture right now it's more systemic. And as much as each and every one of us as private individuals, we are doing our best, I think our efforts will be more amplified if we have certain stakeholders involved in the conversation, or even close to the ground to understand the reality of the problem. We have had the opportunity to be able to work with farmers on the ground, and we are very close to the problem. So we have unique insights that probably some of these stakeholders do not have. And I think what I would like to see is having more of these discussions, but with also certain stakeholders in the room to create that enabling environment, to create that support for such solutions to be able to scale across the country and to be able to make Africa feed the rest of the world. So this has been a very interesting conversation. I look to keep in touch with everyone, and I think we can do a lot together. And let's keep going strong. Thank you very much, Jan, for the opportunity as well. And I'm very grateful for the time.
Thank you, Desmond. I'm sure we all will combine our efforts to this challenge, and I'm sure we'll come back to you and hope we'll get you back to Made in Africa platform, because your expertise is really interesting. It's particularly what you're doing with diaspora and trying to really make the process more inclusive possible. Olamido Pemipo, please, can you give your conclusion and reactions of the Plug Talk, please? The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Desmond, thank you very much. And Akindele, thanks. And Mrs. Beatrice. This platform is actually supposed to be a continuous platform, just like Desmond has said. It should be a platform where if we can have the big fingers also in this kind of conversations, or maybe bigger partners that can be a part of the system. So as much as we are saying, we are also actioning on them. And not only about that, collectively, we can achieve a lot. like in this meeting now, we've had people. We have someone from the women angle, we have the technology, we have the agribusiness, and we're talking about the youth. Now, if we put all these arms together, we can achieve something very good and worthwhile and sustainable in the whole process. And I look forward to connecting more with One Africa, Farm Crowdy, and Complete Farmer. We hope to have a synergy that can work consistently and give us a sustainability in what we are trying to achieve. I hope to have more of this on bigger platforms with bigger stakeholders, so we can do more together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Olamide. Thank you for your dynamism and very clear approach. Great pleasure and congratulations for the work done by GR Farms. And we also hope to welcome you even more to the platform. Mr. Akinle Phillips, it's your time to conclude and share your last words, please. Thank you. I give the floor.
Thank you so much, Jan. It's been a wonderful experience discussing with colleagues, Mrs. Beatrice, Desmond, Olamide, and I'm going to ride on what both Desmond and Olamide alluded, which is the fact that we need to keep this conversation ongoing. We need to have more collaboration to be able to solve this problem. We need to work together. I'm a colleague to receive emails at some point in time so that we can begin to take this conversation outside of this panel session or discussion. One key thing I think we need to also realize, we not paid attention to it, is the fact of traceability. The fact that Ms. Beatrice knows the farmers that produced and was engaged before they got the commodities ready, the fact that Desmond is also involved with these stakeholders producing, and the fact that Olamide is doing this, and the fact that we also are able to know the communities where these products were grown, what kind of application fertilizers was used, green and all of that, ends up being an advantage to us. Because one key thing in other climate that people are also now focusing on is the content. Are they fit for consumption? The traceability of the product, right? So eventually, at some point in time, all our efforts would also help us solve that problem where a consumer has adequate information to know what is consuming, where was it produced, what actually went into the production of those items. I know we've not discussed that today, but I'm happy that because of our activities, right, we need to bear in mind we're actually solving a problem in the future. Because guess what? When eventually we're able to solve the problem of food inadequacy, it gets to a point where the consumer now wants to know what makes up the food, right? I want to know what I'm eating. I want to know where it's from. So I mean, so it's an interesting path for us, and we're going to get there at some point in time. Obviously, collaborating with one another and trying to solve this problem. I really, really had a good time here, and I'm looking forward to more engagement subsequently. Thank you.
We all had a great time. Thank you, Akinle. That's fantastic. But you're totally so right. You know, we've talked about agro-business, we've talked about the role of women, we've talked about traceability, we've talked about technology, all of those challenges. But we should never forget that the consumer is the starting point of all of that. We need to respond to their needs, we need to feed them properly, and we need to commit them. Their mobilization is really important. The mobilization from traceability, and because they are not sleeping consumer, they are active consumer, and now we need to give them choice. And I think you're totally right. That's a very important topic, and I definitely think we are going to open it. Dear Beatrice, you open the floor, you give us great inspirations, you raise this key point of the role of women, you raise a lot of challenges. You will be our last speaker today, last conclusion. It's really great to have you on board. It's great to have Awan and your expertise, but it's really an opportunity and I would say great opportunity to have you on board with Made in Africa as a special advisor, member of the board. So thank you also to you, and I give you the floor for your conclusion.
Thank you very much, Jan. I'm really very happy to be in this event, and I think this also give us for everyone on the board and also the members of Made in Africa that this platform was important and is relevant for what we are doing. And you can see that everyone on the panel wants a bigger event and everything, and I think we take note of that. I'm really very happy about the spirit of collaboration. I think this is the message we are sending to the world, that Africa is no longer what the, the people out there think it is. And I really want to say that I always say that in all my interventions, that for us on the continent, the Africa we want must overpower the Africa we don't want. And when I listen to Desmond, Akindele, Olamide, I know they are in the space of the Africa we want. Yeah. And this is those are the ones changing the narrative. And this is very important, that also the collaboration is not something you're asking anymore. It's like every Zoom I attend, everyone is like, let's collaborate, so this is the power of many and the sharing and everything. I'm really very impressed by the presentation today, that we all on the same page, and we're all going to make things happen and change. Traceability is very important. Akindele, I'm myself an entrepreneur, I'm an exporter, and I know how traceability is important. But mostly is that today, the growing African middle class is very demanding. Yeah. So this is the right way to go, because everyone knows, all of us in our country, we have what we call farmers market, organic farmers market. Before, a few years ago, it's only expatriates from Europe, you go to that market. But now it's flooded by, young and middle income class of Africans who want to eat the right food, the organic. They want to know where it's coming from, how it is being handled, and everything. So this is the way to go. And of course, this is a subject for another event. And at One Africa, actually, even all of us here, we're all enablers, change makers, yeah, service providers. So the way we are going also is that we are also working together, where they can upload other organization to do the same thing, replicate. The movement of goods and people is going to be very easy on the continent, since we started with this Africa Free Trade Area. 26 countries have signed for free movement. Yeah. And so these days is very easy. I think when I go to Nigeria or to Ghana, myself being a Rwandese, I don't need a visa. I just go, they stamp, and I go. And everyone in Africa can come to Rwanda, Kenya, Ghana. I think there are 16 countries when everyone African gets a visa. So things have become very easier. We're going to be very mobile. Of course, we have to overcome the COVID, but I think in Africa, we learn how to live with HIV, we learn how to live with Ebola. Now we are learning how to live with COVID. So I think it takes a lot to stop an African when we want to do something. And I'm very happy to see that the younger generation is taking and changing the narrative and bringing in the Africa we want. And for and for Made in Africa, I think this is an opportunity for us to say, yes, we are in the right space and we are focusing on the right subject. And Desmond, Akindele, Olamide, they, as of course myself, we want to have, continue doing, meeting, going to the next level. If I take Desmond's words, we want to take this to the next level. And I think, I'm sure that Jan and the team of Made in Africa will recommend that for the next event, we bring different stakeholders. So we want people who are in technology, we want people who are in a regulator. Our Ministry of Digital Economy, right? In Africa, we all have ministers of at least one or two of them. And then get somebody from the International Air for European Union, for instance, or of CDA to talk about the new way, how to deliver aid in the new ecosystem of Africa, the way we want to go, and to get aligned to the Agenda 2063. This is what we want that people to be. We get somebody for African Union also to come and talk the Africa we want. And I think, and then of course, bring more, also most importantly, bring young trailblazers who are, our members, the members of Desmond Company, of Akindele, of Olomide and ourselves. Let them come, these young people, on the screen and talk about what they want and what they don't want no more. And I think this will be the platform for Made in Africa. It has to be made in Africa. It has to be Africa. And I think this is a good example how it is relevant, so relevant today that I think we will be very busy at Made in Africa trying to arrange. But this is what we want, because talking among ourselves is good. We learn a lot of things, but we need those service providers. We need telecom companies, yeah, to also come and tell us what can we do together to change the whole ecosystem. How do we move on? You know, post-COVID, how do we move on? Because post-COVID is give us an opportunity to think out of the box. Anything's allowed. There's no business as usual no more. You know, everyone is looking for innovative ideas, innovative activities. So let's take this opportunity and use this platform of Made in Africa to be a catalyst of bringing those ideas for change and come with evidence-based information and track changes of those activities that we want to do. And I thank all my colleagues on the Made in Africa, and I thank our young brothers who came in, and congratulations for the good job you're working. I'm a very proud auntie because I can see the continent is moving somewhere with you guys. Thank you very much. And thank you for spending this time with us today.
Thank you, Beatrice. I think you totally share the vision of Made in Africa, our value, our spirit. I'm personally a very lucky witness, observer of the platform, because it belongs to you, and you are showing that today, definitely Africa don't need help. Africa need investment, because you have the resources, you have the vision, you have the knowledge, you have the capacity to act. So let's mobilize investment, so let's mobilize more impact. And to do so, I totally agree with you. We need to enlarge the dialogue. We need to have civil society speaking with entrepreneur, speaking with research person, with governor, regulator. All of these people is important. This is an inclusive transitions. Specifically, agriculture, it is an inclusive transition. We are all part, we are all beneficiary. Thank you very much to you. Thank you very much, Mr. Desmond Kone. Thank you very much, Olamido Pemipo. Thank you, Akindele Phillips. Thank you, Beatrice Gakuba. We really had a great time together, and we look forward to our next talk. Have a great afternoon, and we wish you the best. Take care. Bye-bye.